Artificial intelligence, a machine beyond the mind of man. It's science fiction, but is it also fact?
What do you think artificial intelligence is?
My favorite definition of artificial intelligence is just computers doing smart stuff.
If that sounds very broad, that's because it is. Intelligence is a squishy term.
If the human brain can solve all kinds of different tasks, can we build programs that can do the same thing?
There's no real reason to believe that humans are some sort of peak of intelligence.
How do you define what the brain does?
This is the Race to Superintelligence. I'm Jennifer Strong.
Now here on the steering column is a device called Auto Cruise. You simply set the speed you want to.
Self-driving robo-taxis are already on the road in 2 US cities.
I would say that one of my greatest skills is my ability to interact with humans.
Today we're announcing a Jeopardy competition unlike anything we have ever presented before.
In 2011, the television quiz show Jeopardy unveiled a new player.
It's an exhibition match featuring two of the greatest Jeopardy players in history. Their challenger? Well, his name is Watson. Watch.
Watson was software designed by IBM to play Jeopardy. And perhaps not surprisingly, given that playing Jeopardy is the thing it was designed to do, Watson was good. Really good.
Watson, what is Istanbul?
You're right. Watson.
What is Parliament?
Right. Watson.
What is ancient Greek?
Yes. Watson, back to you.
After 3 nights of this, Watson won, beating the 2 best players in the game show's history. From board games to Jeopardy to esports, artificial intelligence is beating humans at their own games, so to speak. But that was never the ultimate goal. Researchers are using games to try to create machines that can do things that we used to think of as uniquely human. Things like making jokes, creating art, driving cars, speaking, and understanding language.
Watson is an IBM computer designed to play Jeopardy. Watson understands natural language with all its ambiguity and complexity.
That ambiguity and nuance, it's part of what makes us human. But when Watson was later put to another test, helping doctors diagnose and treat cancer, it failed, even after ingesting a whole lot of medical studies and being trained by doctors. It didn't have the flexibility to apply what it had learned in one setting to a different one. That's something people can do with ease. We can write code and poetry. Some best-selling authors are also medical doctors. And so we asked people on the street what they think artificial intelligence is.
My definition of artificial intelligence is something that can take questions that I ask and give me answers and ideas and inspiration. And the more specific I get, the more specific responses I get out of it. It's essentially a functioning robot that's able to get smarter along the way.
AI is scary. I think at some point machines should be able to do things better than humans. A lot of things. They already do. They play better chess than us. I don't think it is just a natural evolution of technology, something different.
So basically, I see like in near future, in like maybe 5 years, 10 years, so I think everything would be like very robotics, and then like AI would change life of, everyone.
My name is Cade Metz. I'm a reporter with the New York Times based in its San Francisco bureau, where I cover mainly artificial intelligence.
He wrote a book called Genius Makers about how the type of AI we use today came to be mainstream. So I asked him that same question. What's artificial intelligence?
That is an impossible question to answer. It's a catch-all term that has been around since the 1950s that people and companies and researchers apply to almost any type of technology that can vaguely automate something. But in this day and age, it means essentially systems that can learn skills from data. That might be sounds, that might be images, or it might be text.
In other words, these systems are engineered to learn the way we do, from the same kind of data as our brains. We learn to speak by hearing sounds, like our loved ones talking. When we're babies, we learn what a car or a cat is by seeing them interact with the world around us. And researchers started trying this with machines too, decades before the current AI boom that we're living in today. They're called neural networks because researchers took inspiration from the structure of the human brain. One of the earliest examples is NetTalk, developed in the 1980s by AI pioneer Terry Sanowski. The system could learn to speak words on its own by studying children's books and phonetic notations, which is what you see in a dictionary that tells you how to pronounce a word. There's a video showing what that system could do. It's not unlike the demos we see these days from tech companies like OpenAI. This one is sort of time-lapsed because it took a while for the system to learn, but it starts to babble as it analyzes the patterns in these children's books. Then it could babble a little bit better, and then it could start to piece words together until...
I like to go to my grandmother's house. Well, because she gave us candy.
Sanowski showed how machines could learn, but it would still be decades before researchers had the tools to really make this useful.
So it started with speech, and scientists would feed spoken words into these neural networks, and they would learn to recognize those words. Then they would feed images into different types of neural networks, and they would learn to recognize images. They would feed examples of translation, say between English and French and back again into a neural network, and it could learn to translate. Then we reached chat bots, and now we're creating similar systems that learn not just from text, but from all those things. And you've seen a steady increase for more than a decade towards systems that can recognize patterns in the data and then act on it.
As more research labs and companies started racing to create more powerful systems, they started to use a term for the goal of a machine that could do anything the brain could do. And that term is artificial general intelligence.
It's like a rebranding of the technology. And that caught on with some important companies, most notably a company called DeepMind, which was started in London, eventually acquired by Google. Their goal was to build this technology. They didn't know how to build it, but they set this as a goal. And a second lab called OpenAI was founded with the same goal.
Though it's unclear what that might look like or if it's even possible.
How do you define what the brain does? And our brain is attached to our physical body, which does so many things. There's no way of really setting a concrete goal there. It's a vague thing. And it's really a rallying cry, and it has been for many years. It gets people excited about working on this technology. They want something in the distance to go after. And if one company is saying, come here, you can work on AGI, and you want to compete for the same talent, you're going to say the same thing. And there's so many rabbit holes we could go down, but if you're going to build that, you better believe you're going to build it. Building anything is powered by a belief.
Nah, not quite.
What's up?
Sell my car on Carvana. It's just not quite the right time.
Crazy coincidence. I just sold my car to Carvana.
What? I told you about it 2 days ago.
When you know, you know. You know? I'm even dropping it off at one of those sweet car vending machines and getting paid today.
That's a good deal.
Oh, great deal. Come on. What's your heart saying?
You're right. When you know...
You know.
Sold.
Whether you're looking to sell your car right now or just whenever feels right, go to Carvana.com and sell your car the convenient way. Terms and conditions apply.
Support for the race for superintelligence comes from the Pulitzer Center's AI Accountability Network, supporting and bringing together journalists reporting on AI and with AI globally.
Before the rise of neural networks, we used to build technology rule by rule. As in, engineers would spend days writing detailed instructions meant to show machines how to recognize words and what those words mean. And this was done at the most basic level, often working with just little snippets at a time. Just imagine all the different ways people can say the word hello, or all the ways we piece together sentences, explaining why time flies, or how some verbs can also be nouns. But step by step, engineers would define what their software was going to do. The introduction of neural networks made that process a whole lot easier.
They learn from data, and they learn from more data than you and I can wrap our heads around, which means they're going to do things that we don't expect them to do. You and I cannot learn from all the text on the internet. These systems can. And that means they're going to behave in ways that we don't want them to, that we don't expect them to. And so you have to think really hard about plugging those holes.
These systems can do plenty of things much better than we do. They consume and hold way more information than we can in our heads. They're quicker than we are, and AI systems don't need sleep. But there's many things we do that these systems simply cannot. Maybe not yet, maybe not ever. Meanwhile, because AI models learn from our data, they can mirror some human behaviors quite well, both the good and bad. And any big advances stir up this debate about whether we've reached the finish line, a super intelligent machine that can multitask, think, and reason for itself. Like when an engineer inside Google claimed the company had built a sentient system.
This is a fascinating story we have for you of a senior Google engineer who says one of the company's artificial intelligence systems has become a sentient being and was thinking and reasoning like a human being.
Has Google's AI become sentient? A Google employee thinks so he went public with the conversations he had with it.
The engineer, Blake Lemoine, was typing on his laptop to Google's chatbot generator called Lambda. It mimics speech by having ingested trillions of words from the internet. As he talked to Lambda about religion, Lemoine, who studied cognitive and computer science in college, noticed the chatbot talking about its rights and personhood, and he decided to press further.
Google has a policy against creating sentient AI. And in fact, when I informed them that I think they had created sentient AI, they said, no, that's not possible. We have a policy against that.
The former chief scientist at OpenAI didn't go quite that far, but he did claim that AI systems are partially conscious.
And when you have really smart people who are close to the technology making those arguments, they can really mislead the average person who doesn't understand what's really going on. You're going to see this happening more and more and more. And I talk to people all the time who make these claims about this, and they're convinced, right, that these systems are sentient. Whether a system is sentient or conscious is not a technical question. It's a philosophical question. I know that I'm conscious, but I don't know if you're conscious. I'm not inside your brain. And I assume that you're conscious, but I can't really say for sure. And it's the same with a machine.
But as those debates are happening, immediate threats are also emerging.
Whatever you think about whether these systems reason, whether they're on their way to reasoning, they are machines for creating disinformation. If you can generate something that looks like a photo, if you can generate text that looks like it was written by a human, if you can generate sounds that sound like they came out of someone's mouth, that is disinformation that can be spread across the internet. And the worry is that you'll have these systems create disinformation at a scale that humans on their own never could. And gradually, we won't be able to trust anything that we see.
This is a huge concern with elections because it's the first time these creative technologies will be in the hands of just about anyone, though we've known this moment was coming for many years now.
You guys have been making weird stuff online.
Zheyu Jin is a research scientist at Adobe. This is him speaking at a company conference several years back in 2016, showing how software can rearrange the words in this recording.
I jumped out of the bed and I kissed my dogs and my wife in that order.
So how about we mess with who he actually kissed? Introducing Project Vocal. Project Vocal allows you to edit speech in text. Okay, so what do we do? Easily copy, paste. Let's do it. Copy, paste. Oh, yeah, it's down. Let's listen to it.
And I kissed my wife and my dogs.
Wait, here's more. We can actually type something that's not here.
And I kissed Jordan and my dogs.
Adobe never released this prototype, but the underlying technology keeps getting better. Here's a computer-generated fake of podcaster Joe Rogan from 2019. It was produced by an AI lab to raise awareness about this.
Friends, I've got something new to tell all of you. I've decided to sponsor a hockey team made up entirely of chimps.
Today, this tech is used in all sorts of ways, including to produce the voice of one of the most recognizable villains in Hollywood history, Darth Vader. The legendary character has been performed by James Earl Jones, but in a spin-off TV series for the Star Wars franchise called Obi-Wan Kenobi, his voice is actually AI, trained by Ukrainian company Respeecher. They're also responsible for this voice.
He is strong with the Force, but talent without training is nothing.
Young Luke in the Mandalorian series. But artificial voices are also making some types of scams a whole lot more common.
Communication-focused crime has historically been lower on the totem pole.
That's federal prosecutor Mona Sedki speaking at the Federal Trade Commission about voice cloning technologies.
But now, with the advent of things like deepfake video, now deepfake audio, you can basically have anonymizing tools and be anywhere in the internet you want to be, anywhere in the world, and communicate anonymously with people. So as a result, there has been an enormous uptick in communication-focused crime.
But imagine if you, as a CFO or a chief controller, gets a phone call that comes from your CEO's phone number.
And this is Pindrop Security's chief executive, Vijay Balasubramanian, speaking at a security conference.
It's completely spoofed, so it actually uses your address book, and it shows up as your CEO's name. And then on the other end, you hear your CEO's voice with a tremendous amount of urgency. And we're starting to see crazy attacks like that. There was an example that a lot of press media covered, which is a $220,000 wire that happened because the CEO of a UK firm thought he was talking to his parent company, and he then, sent that money out. But we've seen as high as $17 million go out the door.
Coming up,
will this stuff destroy humanity? And some people are really concerned about this, including some people that I trust and the people that a lot in the field trust.
We'll dig into these concerns that powerful AI systems might one day start behaving in ways we don't expect them to.
That is science fiction today. ChatGPT cannot destroy humanity. The concern is that these systems that are being plugged into all sorts of systems we use on a daily basis, eventually that includes the stock market and perhaps military technologies and weapons. And will those systems go wrong?
The Race to Superintelligence is created and produced by me, with Emma Silikans, Daniela Hernandez, and Meg Marco, with additional research and production assistance from Sonia Gerwit, Neve McAuliffe, Anthony Green, and Luke Robert Mason. The show is mixed by Garrett Lang with original music from him and Jacob Gorski. Thanks for listening. I'm Jennifer Strong.
Support for the Race for Superintelligence comes from the Pulitzer Center's AI Accountability Network, supporting and bringing together journalists reporting on AI and with AI globally.